Hello everyone and welcome back to another 5-minute English lesson. Today we're going to break down big ideas fast, and today we're diving into something interesting, introducing the cobras. Last time we talked about Rikki, the hero of the story. Today we're talking about the villains of the story, Nag and Nagaina, so let's not waste any time. Let's dive right in. So first things first, who are Nag and Nagaina? Well, simply put, they're the two cobras living in the garden. They're husband and wife working as a team. They're deadly, patient, and intelligent. So they're very, very smart villains. They're not just like your typical brute force villain. They're actually really smart and cunning. And they want to take over the garden by killing the humans. And Nag and Nagaina aren't just animals. So remember that symbolism that Rudyard Kipling is always having happen below the surface. They're deliberate and strategic. So don't just think of them as villains. What sort of purpose are they serving within the garden? So, what do they want? Every villain has a specific motivation about why they do the things that they do. So they're trying to regain control of the garden. I mean, here comes Rikki-Tikki with his big, bold, brash personality taking over their garden, putting them in danger. All they want to do is regain control. They want to eliminate the human family, who also threatens to kill them. And they want to remove Rikki, their only real threat. And on a basic, pure, and simple level, they want to raise their young in safety. What's wrong with that, right? They want safety. Don't you want safety? So what makes them so villainous if all they want is safety for their children? Well, let's talk about that. It's how they operate in the story that makes them seem kind of like a villain, right? They use stealth and surprise. Villains typically are kind of a little bit more sneaky than the hero. They manipulate fear. I mean, think about when Nag was hiding in the bathroom. He's manipulating fear and hiding. They divide and conquer a lot. So Nag and Nagaina, they've come up with a plan and they divide to conquer. That's something that a villain would do. They attack when least expected. So their plan to kill the humans was at night when you least expect it. That's very villainous, isn't it? So Kipling creates this real suspense by showing how they slither through both the grass and the shadows of the story. So they kind of operate like villains. But they're different, you know, they're joined together, but they're different. So Nag versus Nagaina. Nag, he's the larger one. He's the big, he's the brawn behind the operation. He's overconfident. Where Nagaina, she's smaller, she's more cunning, and she's more emotional. So they're the brawn and the brain of the operation. Now Nag fights the battle. Nagaina plots the revenge. Their relationship adds tension and complexity in this way, and they're a villainous duo. So don't remember they're together, but they're separate. And they're not the same kind of dangerous, which makes them more interesting. So what makes them great villains? Well, first, there's high stakes. They're a real threat to life and safety in the garden. And Rikki poses that threat to them, but then they also pose that threat to Rikki and the family. So there's high stakes, life and death. They're intelligent and intentional. And they really are symbolic of a lurking danger and a calculated malice. So we're always thinking about them in the background of the story. And in a really unique way, they force Rikki to actually grow and become a better hero throughout the story. Him overcoming the challenge is only because they put him in the greatest risk. We root for Rikki because the cobras are worthy and chilling challenge. So, symbolism, that word again. Kipling is always weaving in that symbolism, right? So what do they represent? On the basic level, they represent fear, danger, death, and manipulation. But some critics would argue that they represent rebellion and resistance to colonizers. Remember, Kipling was writing at the time of colonialization, where Great Britain was colonizing India. So we have a foreign nation coming in, trying to impose their will on a native nation. Okay, so be thinking about that. Maybe the snakes represent a rebellious India. Others read them as pure predators in a natural struggle. So are they really villains when they're just being cobras? Cobras are predators, so shouldn't they be acting like this naturally? What makes them so villainous? So Kipling's cobras are more than just snakes. They're forces of disruption in a garden. So, how do we typically react to them in the story? Well, we fear them at first, right? But we also admire their intelligence. Their presence builds suspense throughout the story. Their defeat feels earned and not easy. And we always remember Nag and Nagaina not just for what they do, but how close they come to winning it. So how they do things is just as important as what they do. So, next episode, we're going to talk another symbolism moment in the text, which is the setting and mood of the garden. We're going to discover how the garden is more than just a backdrop. We're going to see how Kipling creates a battleground disguised as paradise, and we're going to learn how the setting shapes suspense and characters and their roles. So I want to thank you so much for joining me again today on the 5-Minute English Teacher. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe, and make sure you comment down below. And teachers, if you want this lecture as well as student notes that go with it, please visit my TPT store found down in the description. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.